Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegrand, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. Men for the Win is part of the Pull Tab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all of your social media platforms at Pull Tab Sports. On this episode, David and Hoges recap the Twins' 3-game series against the New York Mets. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me today in studio, third chair, Andrew Hoges, Hoganson. Dan is off seeing Hamilton, one of his favorite pastimes. You know, Dan has a lot of hobbies, but going to musicals, it's pretty much just Hamilton is all I ever hear about Hoges.
That is true. I haven't heard him mention a whole lot of other ones. Maybe that's the only one he's seen.
Could be. I mean, he does reference it often. Hoges, I got to tell you, of all the series to fill in so far this season, this is not a bad one. Twins take 2 of 3 from the Mets. Can you believe it?
I mean, you got to say right off the bat, this is the most exciting series of the year so far, right? I mean, they won a series, and it's against a good ball team with a lot of fun players to watch on the other side. I'm sure you were just excited as all get out watching Pete Alonso do well in this series.
It didn't hurt that Pete Alonso did well, but the Twins still took 2 of 3. Yeah, I'm obviously not cheering for Pete Alonso when he's at bat against the Twins, but at the same time, I don't care. He could hit 6 home runs if the Twins are still going to win 7-6, right? Like, I mean, there's worse scenarios for me certainly watching baseball.
He's an easy guy to root for. I'll give you that.
I don't know what it is about that warm-up routine. I like it so much though, where he does the fake swings, but he stops like the midpoint. You know?
Yeah.
It's so methodical. I think that's what I like about it. Is like it just seems like so smooth and rhythmic, and he's like ready to go. But
we're gonna need a sounder for you soon. If you have one for Dan talking about Judge, we're gonna need one for you and the polar bear. But I guess we don't see them that much, so.
No, yeah, this will be the only time we see him this season. But Hoges, right now, your Minnesota Twins are only 3.5 games back from first in the AL
That's
Central.
a good way of putting it. The 7-12 part is not a good way of putting it, but you're right, 3.5 back, that's nothing.
Record doesn't matter, Hoges. Whoever wins the division makes the postseason. Like, we're not playing for a wild card spot. That is abundantly clear, Hoges. I mean, this is not going to be last season, I don't think, where the AL Central is going to take 3 postseason spots.
You're right. This does not look like the powerhouse AL Central of old.
No, of last season. No, what I'm saying, though, here is, Hoges, again, the records don't matter if you're only 3.5 back right now.
It's true.
Yes, it doesn't look great to have a 368 winning percentage. Like, that's not fantastic by any stretch. But it's not like the season is over already. And I have to be honest, going into this episode, Hoges, if they had been swept or if they lost 2 of 3, this would have been a hard one for me to come in with any sort of optimism. But I was at the game today, so my voice is a little bit shot, and I'm just amped up. Like, that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah, you're happy right now. I love this optimism. If we would have recorded on Monday night, though, I think this would have been an entirely different feel to this episode.
Yes, well, a couple of notes here before we get into those series recap. First of all, Monday night was the lowest Twins attendance since the Metrodome days, if you don't count the COVID seasons here.
And man, it looked like it too. I mean, just watching on TV, like it was like, where is everyone? It was my number one note when I was like kind of writing down what I wanted to talk about, and I just put, where is everyone? I mean, the weather was awful, let's be honest, but still, that was bad, especially having Soto, Alonso, Lindor. I mean, you got studs on that side of the field that you don't get to see that often.
It worked out really well for me because I was planning to go Monday night, and then the weather looked so trashy. I'm like, I'm going to go Wednesday instead. Turned into a beautiful day and a much better ball game to attend.
Yeah, you at least had some sun.
The Mets fan base was definitely present, and I do appreciate that, like, certain fan bases, I'd say the Blue Jays do this really well too when they come to Target Field, is they really focus on getting those seats above the visitor clubhouse.
Yep.
And so, like, if you looked over down that left field line, Hoges, all Mets colors. Mets colors. I don't know. There had to be way more Mets fans than Twins fans anywhere near that dugout.
Oh, yeah. You could tell on Monday, too, even just watching on TV that they were all there, which, yeah, I like that. Now, if they were Yankees fans, I wouldn't like that, but there's something about the other team from New York that I'm okay with.
And then just a couple of team notes. First of all, Jose Miranda was demoted. Big news here. As soon as he gets demoted, he's at Target, and he's buying one of those packages of water, and he's picking it up, and he drops it, and he tries to grab it, and then he injures his hand. Now, okay, I think this is less of a hand injury and more of a pride injury, if I were to guess. But why even bring up how it happened?
That's because I think that's actually is what happened. Like,
even
baseball
if it
players,
did,
they have no shame in their injuries at all. Like, Freddie Freeman missed some games because he got hurt getting out of the shower. Like, are these the most breakable people on earth? Like, I mean, we'll get to it, but we were getting all these injuries in game one, and that's when the Miranda news came out too. And I think Dan Hayes tweeted like Eddie Julian was in danger of an anvil falling on his head during the game just because of like how ridiculous all this is. Sammy Sosa once threw out his back because he sneezed too hard. Like, it's just insane.
I guarantee he was over 30 when that happened, though, Hogs.
I mean, I've sneezed pretty hard. My back's. I'm an old man who's been beat up a lot, and this stuff doesn't happen to me. Knock on wood.
Yes. Another team note here as far as movement is concerned, Scott Blewett was claimed off waivers by the Orioles, which I hope that doesn't come back to bite the Twins. I mean, I don't think that he's top 10 reliever in baseball or anything like that, but with the way the Twins keep doing this, sooner or later, guys are going to start getting picked off that waiver wire as teams get more and more desperate and other pitchers and relievers go down.
Yeah, we are having a bit of a revolving door for that extra relieving position, which is kind of funny. We just got to keep calling Dobnik up and down because no one's claiming that contract.
It does seem to be the case. And then last note here, a fun one. Ty France, my guy Ty France, wins AL Player of the Week honors, Hogs.
I think it was the most boring AL Player of the Week ever, though. I mean, like, I know he did well, and he did win me Puckett's picks, but like his numbers weren't that phenomenal. Did no one else do anything in the entire American League that week?
They were pretty good. He had a couple of homers and a couple of doubles. It wasn't terrible, Hogs.
Oh, it's one of the weaker ones. I don't know. Maybe I just got high expectations.
Okay, well, enough about this, Hogs. Let's go ahead and jump into the series recap.
Series recap.
Game one, the Mets come away with this one 5-1. Miserable, as we mentioned. The attendance was only 10,240, which means that it was actually more like 5,000 is probably who was actually at the ballpark. Joe Ryan pitches well, but he throws so many pitches in order to get through this game. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Ryan is usually pretty efficient, like getting balls in the strike zone, but I just think these Mets hitters, they know how to extend at bats, and even though the result against Ryan for them wasn't great, I mean, Ryan just had to keep throwing the ball, and that pitch count rises, guys are going to have to come out sooner or later.
Well, and he wasn't getting any help from the umpire either. Like, it wasn't anything egregious, but a few that looked like they kind of painted the lines, like specifically the full count pitch to Alonso that he walked him on. Like, that one could have been called a strike, and then it ended up having to throw about 10 more pitches in that inning. So he wasn't getting any help there, but I thought he looked pretty good, though. I know he was in trouble a little bit, and there were some traffic on the base paths. I liked Rocco letting him out to stay in the game, even when things got a little hairy. All in all, I'd say it's a really good performance from.
Yeah, top of the third, Ryan walks the number 9 batter, Acuna, the brother, of course, of the Ronald Acuna Jr., the guy who which
they said 9 million times on TV.
Yes.
And also the Twins have his other brother that's in the minor league system.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and every single time that he came up to bat, that's like the note they put on the target field scoreboard. They're like,
and then he got walked all the time, and he's terrifying on the base paths.
Yes, very interesting. But so he steals second, as you alluded to here, host. And then Alonso, my guy, Pete, hit an RBI single. So the Mets are up 1-0. Bottom of the 5, this is the Twins' only real chance of the game, and they fail to take advantage. Clay Holmes, the former reliever, now starter, he loses control here, Hogs. Larnach walks, France is hit by pitch, Lee walks, the bases are loaded, and it's the one time in history Rocco decides not to pinch hit. Christian Vazquez comes to the plate. He hits a sac fly to score Larnach, but then Julian grounds into a force out, and they get France at third, and Buxton goes down swinging. It's disappointing that you had the bases loaded, no outs, and Holmes was struggling, and you couldn't capitalize. We'll talk a little bit more about that decision to have Vazquez hit a little bit later. Then this is a familiar script now. Top of the 6th, Topa enters. He gives up a single to Alonso, then an RBI double to Ventos. The Twins, they had to play at home, but instead, Willie Castro throws the ball to literally no one at second base. So Alonso manages to score. He's not a fast man at all, Hogs. And instead of trying the play at home, Castro, I don't understand who he was throwing the ball to, but it was really funny. He spikes it and it goes to second base.
There's so many like weird weird, dumb plays that's happened with this team this year.
Yeah, so the Mets lead 2-1 at this point, and then the inning should have ended on a dribbler hit back to Topa, but Topa, like every other Twins pitcher, doesn't know how to throw to first base, and he throws it away, allowing Ventos to score, so the Mets are up 3-1. Then in the 7th, the Mets realize Twins pitchers can't throw to first, so Acuna bunts it back to Alcala, who promptly throws the ball away, and then Soto, you can only keep the guy down for so long. He connects, hits a home run, and the Mets lead 5-1. There was an interesting quote that I heard Judge Zulgad mention that I couldn't find in print anywhere, so I don't know if this is just something that was heard, but Joe Ryan supposedly said, it's like I come in, I get a drink of water, and then I have to go right back to work.
Well, I don't blame him.
No, I totally reasonable comment. It's just sort of interesting to criticize your offense that publicly is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty tame criticism, though. I mean, and it's true, though. Like Holmes was throwing no pitches. The only inning that he ended up throwing a lot of pitches was that 5th when he kind of lost control for there a little bit. But it was insane. Like, the amount of pitches that Ryan was throwing compared to what Holmes was throwing through the first part of this game was nuts. The Twins were never at bat. Like, I agree. You'd go up and go to the bathroom. You'd come back, and already Joe Ryan would be back on the mound again. This game was really, really deflating because it felt like their starting pitcher gave them a chance. They couldn't do anything on the base paths. And like you said, like that Castro play where the ball was just going nowhere, there was a lot of just weird fundamental things where after this game, I was feeling pretty down. And Ryan throws the ball to first on a ground out, and you get all excited. Then the next inning, Topa throws it away. And then the inning after that, Alcala throws it away. You're like, I thought we fixed it. I had one inning of hope. My notes literally read, Twins pitchers don't know how to throw to first. Next inning, Twins pitchers don't know how to throw to first. I was in a bad place after this one.
Don't give me hope. Silly Joe Ryan making a throw to first. What was he thinking? Let's go on to happier times here, Hogs. Game 2. The Twins win this one 6-3. Bailey Ober, my guy, on the mound.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
Pitches very well. 6 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, no walks, 2 home runs. Top of the first, my guy Pete Alonso hits a home run. The Mets lead 1-0 at this point. Bottom of the first, it looks even more bleak, Hogs. Matt Wallner pulls his hamstring running to first. Deshaun Kersey comes in to replace him. Wallner will go on the IL. We'll see how long it'll take him to come back for that. Hopefully faster than Royce Lewis, who apparently needs, 2 to 4 years to come back from a hamstring injury.
Yeah, it's just gross. Like the second you saw him pull up, it was like, well, we've seen this 8,000 times already this year, and I have more thoughts on that later.
Bottom of the third, though, the Twins get on the board here. Bader hits a single. He steals second. Buxton hits a single. So you got runners on first and third. Deshaun Kersey is asked to get a bunt down, but he pops out to McGill, which is just really frustrating that these guys can't throw to first base and the batters can't get bunts down. But thankfully, Francisco Lindor gifts a run to the Twins by committing an error on a Ty France hit to short. So Correa then hits an RBI single to score Buxton. Unfortunately, Ty France gets thrown out at third base. And so the Twins lead
more poor fundamentals.
Yes. So the Twins lead at 2-1, but that rally could have continued. A little bit disappointing. The Twins couldn't capitalize further.
Like that starts a theme for the rest of the series. Like weird stuff happening on the base paths. Like by both teams. Like it got a little league here for a while.
Definitely. Top of the fourth again. Soto continues to be good at baseball. He hits a home run. It's a tie game, 2-2 at this point. Quick side note about Juan Soto. I used to complain about Luis Arraez and sort of the cockiness at the plate when he's basically calling his own balls and strikes. Juan Soto is so much more obnoxious.
Oh, I disagree. They are equally, because Arraez does the shake his head thing. Like, no. The Soto shuffle is irritating, but I think they're both equally irritating.
No, hang on, though. This entire series, anytime Jeffers was behind the dish here, when Soto came to bat, they were jawing at each other. And I am so curious what was being said, because legitimately, Soto would look at Jeffers and like hold a conversation.
I thought he was talking to the umpire the whole time.
You could. I'm telling you that he was looking at Jeffers. Jeffers didn't care for it. And then when Soto, when he popped out a couple times, he looked back at Jeffers. I don't fully understand it, but this is what I'll say.
Maybe they got a history. I didn't notice that. I just thought he was talking to the umpire, being like, "Where was that? Where'd you have that one?"
Alls I can say, I could watch Juan Soto strike out on a loop for eternity, and that would not be the worst way to spend my time.
It is kind of weird. I disliked him. It's true though. I disliked him more in this series than I ever did when he was a Yankee, which is super bizarre for me. But I guess I don't know. It was a weird feeling. And I thought the Twins, this is a nutcase take right here, but I thought they handled him fairly well in this series, honestly. Like he did come up in some other big situations and he wasn't getting hits. He did a lot of damage. I understand that, but they did limit him in some key instances.
I would absolutely love to mock you right now, Host. But at the game today, these words came out of my mouth. I said, if you get through the top 3 batters of this lineup every time through the order and you only give up 1 run, that's a win.
It's
like,
crazy.
Honestly, if you get through Lindor, Soto, and Alonso and you haven't given up a run, that's like throwing a perfect game, Host.
Well, and we have historically the worst top 3 hitters in baseball so far from like those positions or something like that. And then we're playing against this team where it's Lindor, Soto, and Alonso, and you're like, oh man, that's a little different.
Very, very different. Bottom 4th, though, the Twins get some chances. So Larnach's hit by pitch. Jeffers hits what is thought to be a home run initially, but upon review, the ball actually hits the top of the wall. So the home run is called back. It's turned into a double. So now you got Jeffers at second, you got Larnach at third, and there's no outs. And Hogs, I got to be honest, at this point, I assumed we went from having a 4-2 lead to a 2-2 game, and the Twins are going to squander this opportunity. Shockingly, Castro strikes out, but then Harrison Bader comes through with a single to score Larnach, so now the Twins lead 3-2, but the rally ends on an Eddie Julian ground into double play. Eddie had a good time at the plate sometimes and a very bad time others. It was a very up and down series for Eddie Julian.
Just listen to this series recap too. Every time someone's scoring on the Twins side, you're going through like 3 paragraphs of notes to talk about what happened in that inning. So it made it fun baseball to watch, but I don't know if I can ever remember like 2 games in succession where it was like this, where it was just like a single, home run, called back, double. I mean, it's just so crazy. It was fun to watch though.
It was fun baseball, certainly. So bottom 5th, this is the play that a lot of people wanted to talk about online. Buxton singles, he steals second, and then he advances to third on a Kiersey Jr. ground out. Then he's going to score on a Ty France fielder's choice. The throw from Acuna, I mean, he played it about as perfectly as he could. Buxton is just too fast. He is so fast, Hogs.
And the view that they kept showing on Twitter with him, like the view right behind Buxton, showing him like already getting like that secondary lead and then just going on contact, which we'll find out burned the Twins a little bit later. But in this case, it was awesome. He is crazy fast.
Then bottom of the 6th, the Twins continually get the lead man on, which is crazy. So Jeffers hits a leadoff double. Castro and Bader are quick outs, but then Eddie Julian comes through with an RBI single, so the Twins lead 5-2. Again, up and down series for Julian.
But clutch hitting, like getting hits when they needed it with 2 outs.
Top of the 7th here, Ober gets into trouble with a Ventos single followed by a Torrens double. So Sands comes in and replaces Ober. Winker hits a sac fly to score Ventos. Twins lead 5-3. Sands walks Acuna, but Lindor grounds out to end the inning. Thank goodness. So many times, Hogs, the sitting on the edge of your seat just assuming that the Mets are going to put up big numbers, the Twins managed to stop the rallies.
Well, I got real mad when this was happening. I didn't like pulling Ober there, even though he had given up 2 hits. I would have liked to have him try to get in and finish that inning, but I'll take 1 run in that situation any day of the week.
Bottom 7th, then, Deshaun Kersey Jr. singles, but then he's thrown out stealing second. Now, Brooks Lee comes to the plate. Earlier, he was brought in for an injured Carlos Correa. He had to come in on an 0-2 count. He didn't reach then, but he had a pretty good at-bat anyway. But he hits a home run to right. Thank goodness. The Twins lead 6-3.
Well, I was just too angry because Brooks Lee is on my fantasy baseball team, and he came off the IL on Sunday, so we were supposed to be able to put him onto our team, but you can only replace him for whatever position he's already played so far that year, and since he only played third base, the only place we could put him was for a second baseman, but you couldn't actually make that switch, so that home run didn't actually count for my team. Huge bummer.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, folks. Nobody cares at all. Anyway, top of the 9th, Duran comes in. Ventos reaches on a throwing error from Willie Castro, which I'm guessing Carlos Correa probably would have made that play. But anyway, Duran almost throws the ball away then, throwing a dribbler from Jesse Winkler to second. Thank goodness, though, Castro actually knocks it down and recovers. Acuna hits a single, bringing up Lindor as the tying run, but Duran strikes him out on a 102-mile-an-hour fastball, which it's so fast, folks. It's just so fast.
It felt good, but oh man, how nervous were you when that ball bounced on the second? Like, and Castro wasn't even at the base yet either. That should have been an easy double play, but I did not like the feeling in my gut after that.
Let's quickly move on to game 3 here. Twins win this one in extras 4-3. Top of the 2nd, Winker hits a double. He tries to score on a Nimmo single, but he's thrown out at home. In the bottom of the 3rd, Bader hits a single. Julian doubles. Buxton hits it to 3rd. Bader goes on contact, and then he's thrown out at home. Lots of plays
not quite as fast
here.
as Buxton there.
No. Top of the 5th, though, Taylor singles, Batty singles. Lindor's hit by pitch. pitch. Soto comes to the plate with the bases loaded. There's one out, and then Soto bounces into this unassisted Eddie Julien double play. And it's the weirdest play, folks. You have to go watch the replay if you haven't seen this. Eddie gets the ball, and he's like kind of surprised that he has the ball, first of all. Lindor does this whole shuffle, like trying to get around Julien. Julien tags Lindor and then gets to first base instead of throwing it to France and tags the base with his foot. I think Eddie Julien is just that nervous to have to make a throw accurately.
I think he blacked out. I don't think he actually knew what happened. I mean, that play was so weird. Like, you watch it, I don't get why Lindor ran into Julien. Like, he helped him out a ton. And then France was just waiting for the ball. Maybe, yeah, I think maybe you're right. He was too afraid to throw it to first. He's like, I just got to run this over. But that was way closer than it had to be. And what a heck of a way to get out of a bases loaded jam.
Definitely, especially with Soto at the plate. In true Twins fashion here, I assumed it was a grand slam. There was no question in my mind that I'm like, well, okay, down 4 is not going to be great. One thing I do have to say, though, Eddie Julien made basically every play that was required of him this series. Still, he just doesn't look comfortable.
No.
He does not look comfortable fielding his position, either in fielding the ball or throwing the ball, but he made all the plays. So it's sort of like a tightrope walker, like who's like just making his way, and he's just a bit uneasy. He hasn't found his point of balance yet. So let's just hope that Eddie can straighten up.
Ogres are like onions.
Serious question, though. What makes you more uncomfortable? A ground ball to a Twins pitcher or a ground ball to Eddie Julien? Like, where do you kind of go, ooh, on the throw? I think
that may be one of the better questions that has ever been asked on this podcast, folks. I don't know the answer. I
don't
think
either.
Probably the Twins pitcher at this point. And I think it's just because the angle to throw to first base from where they're fielding it changes so often, and the angle from second base is a little bit more consistent, where like the pitcher, depending where they're coming off the mound and where they're turning to make the throw, it's almost always a blind throw, where
Yeah,
Julian's
that's
always going to be
true.
able to see first base. But no, great question, Hogs. That's why people listen to the show, for questions like that are disgustingly Minnesotan, I'd say. Anyway, moving forward here, bottom of the 5th, Castro doubles. The Mets challenge, which matters a lot, Hogs, because that call stands. The Mets lose their challenge. Kersey Jr. grounds out, but that does advance Castro. Bader then singles and Castro scores. Then Buxton hits an RBI single, so the Twins are up 2-0 at this point. And playing against this Mets team, Hogs, 2 runs just never seems like it's going to be enough because they're so capable of putting runs up.
No, yeah, absolutely. This did not feel safe at all. Like, I know when we were talking earlier, you were like, they weren't going to win this game with only 2 runs, and I couldn't have agreed more.
So bottom of the 6th, Jeffers walks. He advances to second on a league groundout. Then Castro singles and Jeffers scores as he left with contact. Castro actually should have been out, but the ump calls him safe, and the Mets had lost his challenge. Like, he's out, and it's not particularly close. Like, you can watch the replay.
Is this the first time you can think of this happening? Like, I'm sure it has happened before, but like the first time that I remember watching a Twins game where the other team losing their challenge actually mattered come the end. Because what is it, the 7th where they get the umpire can challenge whenever they want? So,
yes.
I mean, it's a small window, and I mean, it was huge. I mean, honestly, it's play of the game almost.
Well, I was surprised when they actually challenged the Castro double call, because I assumed, after I saw the replay on the board, I'm like, I don't think they're going to overturn that. And it felt pretty early in the game to make that call, knowing that you're going to lose that challenge unless you're right.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, but the umpires give you so much leeway too, because like they'll wait to be like, hey, look at it a few times before we decide whether or not you want to challenge it. So there's no real rush.
Total side note here. You know how Rocco always does his finger twirl when he's saying that, hey, yeah, we're not going to challenge you this? Mendoza has a very different hand motion. He does this like cutting action. Like, no, we're not going to challenge. And I guess
we're good. I saw that. I remember.
In my head, I don't know why. And I guess I just never paid too much attention when other managers are saying to play on. I just assumed that this was the symbol for play on because that's what Rocco does. Like, I'd never really put 2 and 2 together that there's like other motions. It's like, you know, at an auction, sometimes you see like different people motion different ways if they want to bid. And then a bunch of sitcoms have done that whole bit where they're like, people are bidding without realizing that they're bidding and whatnot. But I just think that this motion, it just looks so angry. Like, no, we're not going to challenge it. Where Rocco, this motion very much encapsulates the vibe of the manager who's making the call.
It's true. Do you think like umpires could go through every single manager and just be like, yep, this is his signal, this is his signal, this is his signal, just all the way down the line? They have like a little game that they play on their Saturday nights or something in the off season.
I always think that umpires likely don't have families. They all spend all of their time just together.
Well, you have to hate your life if you're an umpire, right? So like there has to be no joy anywhere in it. So
have you no joy in your life? Is there no song in your heart?
Anyway,
have that job.
Top of the 8th here, Jack struggles.
A
Twins
lot.
get into trouble. Lindor singles. Alonso hits an RBI double. Winker hits an RBI double. Acuna an RBI single. So now it's a tie game, 3-3. Bader ends the inning, thank goodness, on a great catch. But it's a tie game, Hogs, going into the bottom of the 8th. Again, Twins fans know we're not going to win this baseball game. But top of the 10th, Soto starts on second. Sands walks Alonso. I would argue intentionally. He wasn't going to give Alonso any chance to hit this ball. But Winker grounds into a double play, and then Nimmo pops out, and now the momentum is back with the Twins. Buxton's going to start on second base. Thank goodness. My guy, Ty France, RBI single to center. There might have been a play at the plate. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Buxton's
that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think there would have been?
No, but so the center fielder bobbles the ball anyway, so there's no play.
He was playing like second base practically. Like he was so far in. I think Buxton would have been safe, but I think it would have been close.
It could have been close. Doesn't matter though, Hogs. The Twins win this one 4-3, and the Twins take the series 2 of the 3 games. This is just wonderful news, Hogs. I haven't been this excited about a Twins team since, I don't know, July of last year, yeah. I guess. I guess it hasn't been that long ago. But you know what I am excited about, Hogs? It's officially coleslaw season. That's right, folks. Grab a jar of Jimmy's coleslaw dressing to give your slaw the zip and zing that everyone will be talking about. Available in original, fat-free, and pineapple, Jimmy's is family fun and locally owned, delicious on burgers, brats, pulled pork, and as a summertime side. You can't go wrong with Jimmy's. Pick up a jar today. Jimmy's salad dressings and dips. Don't you be messing with my dressing.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Sad segment here, Hogs. Sad segment here. Hogs is going to come away with the victory. He had Wallner, who had 4 points. Then Dan took Correa, who had 1 point. The listeners had Buxton and 1 point. And I had France, who had 0. On the season, then, Hogs, you have 2 victories. I have 1 victory. But unfortunately, Dan's hot streak at the beginning of the season still stands. He has 3 victories. The listeners, which again, this is so crazy to me because this is how it worked out last season as well, have yet to get a victory on the board. Why do you think that is, Hogs?
They just don't know baseball like we do. I think this is the weirdest Puckett's Picks win for me ever because Wallner had 1 at bat in game 2 and then didn't play at all. Buxton had a rather phenomenal series. France gets the game-winning hit. I don't know how I snuck this one out, but I will take it.
Absolutely, Hogs. Well, so let's keep moving here into Beast versus Bench. Sounds like we're going to talk a little bit more about Buxton.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
I mean, that's the weird part. Normally, if a guy wins me Puckett's Picks, I'm going to take him 10 times out of 10 as my beast. I went with Buxton, though, because I thought he had a great series. When I was looking at everyone's numbers, I ignored game 1, which is the only game that Matt Wallner played a full game in, and he actually did pretty well. The rest of the Twins lineup just was trash in game 1. So we're striking that one off the board. Buxton went 4 for 9 in games 2 and 3. He was aggressive on the base pass, running on contact. I mean, I've talked about it. It feels like every episode I'm on, I say that this guy is the spark plug for his team and he gets everything going for them, but it's so true. I mean, look at what he does to wreak havoc on the base paths, and then the Twins end up winning those games, and now we don't know how long Correa is going to be out, if at all. He did come in as a defensive replacement. He's going to be that leader now when we have Royce Lewis still out. I'm looking for a lot from Buxton, and he produced in game 2 and 3.
A good pick, certainly. I'm going to go with Cole Sands because, yes, he let inherited runners score in game 2, but he came in big spots in game 2 and game 3, and honestly, he did the best that he could, Hogs, with what he was given. I thought about giving it to Ober, and had he gotten through that inning, if Rocco would have let him pitch, I probably would have given it to him if he got through 7. But I just think Cole Sands has been a guy who obviously Rocco has shown a lot of faith in, and I think that's going to continue until he gives him a reason to think otherwise.
I think that's a great pick. He's been very reliable in that bullpen.
Who do you have on your bench, Hogs?
I went with Vazquez mostly just because I'm still annoyed that you said you wouldn't pick him for your bench because you'd have to pick him every time, but also because I did pick him, I feel like I now do have to pick him every time because he is deserving of the bench. He only played in game 1. He did get that RBI on the sac fly, but he struck out twice. It's just whenever he comes to the plate, I get nervous, and that RBI on the sac fly felt like we won the lottery.
Won the lottery is a good comparison there, Hogs. I'm going to give it to a reliever. I know that you hate when I do this. I'm giving both the beast and I'm giving the bench to a reliever. I'm joining Rocco we're joining forces, Rocco and I. Jorge Alcala, what are you doing, my friend? Oh my goodness. Game 1, granted, it was a dreary game anyway, but he was like, let's make sure that the Twins lose this ball game. Very frustrating to see. He threw the ball away from first. He gave up a ton of earned runs. Just really frustrating. I think as soon as Rocco gets the opportunity, he's going to pull that trigger and send Alcala back down to AAA.
It's scary because he has great stuff, but it just seems like he almost loses himself for a while out there and totally falls apart and loses his control, I think is more what it is. And then he gets dialed in again and he looks deadly, but man, yeah, it's been frustrating this year. It's hard to really argue with that pick. I mean, you could pick the entire lineup in game 1, but after that, it was pretty steady production all around.
It's just because his floor is so low, but his ceiling is so high. It's like he is living in a mansion, Hogs, that has a couple of levels of basement and then like 6 stories on top. It's just his floor to ceiling is just so wide, and he's never on the middle floors, Hogs. I don't understand it.
Ogres are like onions.
Ogres are like onions. End of story.
I have to do as many comparisons as I can when Dan's gone, because when he's here, I think we do too many of them if we were both doing these comparisons.
True.
Anyway, let's push forward here. Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
You just mentioned this whole Vazquez bit about him batting with the bases loaded. I guess Jeffers was dealing with an injury and your only other real option to pinch hit for Vazquez is Mickey Gasper. But still, do you not think maybe it's time to sit Vazquez down, who's never really performed in those spots as of any time lately, right? Like, it's been a long time.
Especially in a bases loaded situation too, right? With no outs. So even if you have Mickey Gasper up there, if he puts the ball on the ground, you have a chance at avoiding that double play. With Vazquez, if he puts the ball on the ground, automatic double play. I mean, I would have liked anyone who was available to come up and pinch hit in that situation. It is weird that Rocco didn't when he's normally so quick to pull the trigger. I don't know, probably what you said, that it was just Jeffers was off limits that night. Yeah, he's 3 for 3 in game 2. So I think he's been hitting the ball a lot better. Granted, that was after the fact, but yeah, I would have loved to see him in that situation.
Yeah, or I mean, I guess Bader even at that point, or Kersey Jr. I mean, you have options, I suppose, besides Mickey Gasper. I'm just sort of thinking about defensive alignment here.
Yeah,
I just think that you should have made a move there. I get that it's cold, and I get that it's the 5th inning, but Rocco has never shied away from early pinch hits before. Seemed like a big opportunity wasted.
That's a huge part of the game.
And then just another quick note here that was so bizarre. When you're sitting in the stands in game 3 today, you put in Mickey Gasper to hit for Willie Castro, who's a switch hitter, and who is currently playing shortstop. At this point, I think that Correa is off limits. So when Correa comes into the game defensively, that was the most bizarre thing, Hogs, because I'm looking at shortstop and I'm thinking, who's at shortstop? I couldn't figure it out because I'm like, it's not Gasper, it's not Julian. Who is that out at short? So that had to be an interesting conversation between Correa and Rocco saying, oh yeah, Rocco, I can play defensively, I just can't swing a bat.
Well, and we found out later too, like if his spot would have come up in the order, he may not have actually hit there. And It's interesting too, because I think Castro was a bit of an injury pull too. Apparently he has something going on with his oblique too. So, I mean, the Twins are losing bodies left and right here.
Yeah, and then last positive note here for me on Rocco. He did pull Festa at the right time, I think, in this game. I think that Festa is still sort of building his stuff up to go deep into Major League Baseball games, but I think he pulled him at the right time, and obviously they got the victory. It's hard to say cause and effect there, but I think he did make the right call at that time.
So mine is actually more of a question for you. I don't know if I'm overreacting about this or not. It seems like Rocco keeps leaving in these relievers when they're having bad innings way too long. Like today, he left Jackson for, I think, 7 batters in that inning where he gave up 4 hits and 4 earned runs. And I get that he's a guy that you're trusting for that inning. Am I overreacting by thinking that he's leaving these studs in way too long when they clearly don't have their best stuff?
I think it was hard in that moment because Duran was warming up still and Cole hadn't even started stretching. So I think you're sending a guy out on really, really short warm-up time. I think you got to roll with it at that point. I just don't know that there was anybody who was ready. If you had somebody ready to go, it's a different conversation. But I think at that point, even if you can stall a little bit, I think you're still having a guy come in cold. I think you let Jax work out of it in that moment. But I definitely understand the sentiment.
It just seems like this is like the 3rd time it's happened this year. I know Alcala's kind of been hung out to dry there for a little bit. Louis Varland seems like that's happened to him right at the beginning of the year. It's irking me right now. I've got my eye on it.
All right, well, let's push forward here. Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
I went with Duran getting the save in game 2. It was the Twins' first save of the year. That happens in the 18th ball game. Just unbelievable. And it was filled with so much drama. Him nearly hucking that ball into center field, Trevor Bauer style, was unbelievable. And then Willie Castro making an incredible play to save that. Duran thought he killed Castro for a while because he was like pointing at him and giving him like a questionable thumbs up. Are you good? Are you good? And then him striking him out on a 102-mile-an-hour pitch. He screamed. You could hear it because there was no one at the ballpark right there. And then the nice little hop. It felt so good. It completely 180'd my mood after game 1. I think that's the Minnesota moment.
I think that's a great pick. I have to mention at least the game 3 bottom 5, that double play from Soto. And then the game 3 top 10 when Winker hit into the double play after Sands had walked Alonso, also important. But I'm going to go with the easy one here. Francis walk-off. The Twins win this series. I was there. I screamed very loud. I hugged my buddy. I was very, very excited, Hogs. It was just like, yes, we get to talk about a series win on the podcast for once.
Aren't you kind of happy that all of these moments are positive Minnesota moments too?
Yes.
And we had a walk-off and we both weren't even like confident that we needed to pick that one. I mean, it's the right call, right? Like that it is the Minnesota moment, but you can make a good argument for all of those other ones that you mentioned.
Yes, certainly. Let's go on here. Mauer's musings. I'm very excited about this.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
I'm a 35-year-old man, and I work out rather regularly. I run a lot in cold weather. I do sprints. My hamstrings, I'm jinxing myself to high heaven right now, but my hamstrings are in great shape.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Didn't we fire the whole medical staff before because we wanted to fix these soft tissue injuries? I mean, we got Royce Lewis, we got Pablo Lopez, we got Matt Wallner. Correa apparently has something wrong with his wrist. Castro has something wrong with his oblique. Didn't we fix this problem? Why do we keep getting hurt like this?
Fans want an ejection. There it goes.
And that was Gardy's gripe.
I don't know, Hogs. I wish I could tell you. This is what I'll say.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
I don't know how much of it is just dumb luck. I don't know how this all works, but as a guy who doesn't run a lot in cold weather, warm weather, or otherwise, I don't know how frequent we should expect injuries to occur. And if I followed other teams as closely as I followed the Twins, I wonder if we'd be having these same conversations. I don't know, Hogs.
What did you have?
Just hear me out for just a minute here. This team needed a change of some sort. Whether it was Rocco being removed, whether it was people coming back from the IL. Correa might be headed to the IL because of this weird wrist injury. If Correa needs to be put onto the 10-day IL, would that be the worst thing at this moment?
This might be the stupidest take you have ever had. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Like, we always talk about you can't fire the manager. Maybe your star player gets hurt and other guys got to step up. Like, it's so stupid, David. It truly is. I like it a little bit. I mean, and then they won. So they won 2 games.
Again, I realize numerically, statistically, this is a dumb take. Terrible take. Makes no sense. If I heard someone else say it, I'd say, well, that's really dumb. You're paying the man $36 million, and you're like, why don't we just put him on the IL just because? Like, I just think he's supposed to be the leader of the team. It hasn't really felt like he's been the leader of the team. Maybe this gives him a reset, and if he sees young guys performing and he sees that this team has some potential, I just think maybe he needs a little break, Hogs, is all I'm saying.
They needed something, right? I mean, they needed something. So why don't you drop a Target bag of water and twist your wrist and we'll try it.
I want to build a championship culture.
Full disclosure, my original Mauer's musing was going to be whether this team should clean house come the trade deadline, assuming the Twins were going to get swept by the Mets in this series.
Yeah. Oh,
but the problem I have with this, Hogs, is that I do think this team is very talented, and there's a lot of guys who can perform on this team. I just look at this pitching, and I think that you need to succeed now because of the rotation and the bullpen that you have. Like, you need to put effort in now because pitching is a lot harder to come by than hitting so often. And you finally have a good rotation of starters. It just frustrates me to think that idea of rebuild, it just doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind because of the pitching staff.
And we've seen this team be great for 4 months. Like, legitimately great. They were the best team in baseball for 4 months last year. And granted, they were historically bad on either side of that, but it's hard to ignore that stretch. So that's why, like, yeah, do we trade Duran? Do we trade Lopez? All that sounds so gross because you know what they looked like. So you don't want to tear it down. And they do have young talent, and that's not even mentioning the pitching, like you said. So Yeah, I agree. It's a hard place. My mowers musing was right along the same lines until game 2 and game 3. I was ready to fire them all.
Everybody goes. Okay, let's keep pushing here. Series grades.
Series grades.
Dude, it's an A. You got on track against a very good baseball team. Great pitching. The team shows some grit for once in their lives. You take 2 of 3. Needed that desperately. I do wonder when the Wolves and Wild postseason runs end, will this team be successful enough for those fans that have been preoccupied with the Wolves and with the Wild make their way to Target Field once they don't have those other teams to watch that are a little bit more exciting at this moment?
There's a lot of disappointment in the ownership group right now. So
Yes.
Even if they start playing better, I think it's going to take a little bit. But man, they go on like a 20-game run here where they win 15 games or whatever. I think that'll start getting butts back in those seats for sure. I gotta admit, David, you pulled a me to like the highest ever. You have recency bias from today. I don't hate it. I like seeing you this happy. It warms my heart. I gave him a B. I can't get over game 1. Everything that you said about game 2 and game 3 and taking 2 out of 3 is huge. Game 1 was just gross, and it was hard to stomach. So I'm bumping them down. I can't stomach giving them an A from that, but I'll give them a B.
Well, Hogs, if your internet connection is only a B, I have some things you can do about that.
Attention, Minnesota. There's a new high-speed internet sheriff in town. Gateway Fiber has landed in Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and Plymouth, with plans to extend deeper into Minnesota. Gateway Fiber boosts a fiber optic network that exceeds the capabilities of some of the biggest players in the business, giving you more whiz for less cost for all of your online working, streaming, gaming, and whatevering. With no hidden fees, no data caps, and no installation fees, Gateway Fiber is perfect for your home or business. Go to gatewayfiber.com to get fast, reliable, and affordable high-speed fiber internet.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
I feel bad talking about this because Dan's not on the show.
All rise for Dan's Judge Love.
But Aaron Judge has been named the Team USA captain for the World Baseball Classic 2026. Very important note, Mike Trout approves, which is great news. Is this who you would have picked as the captain?
I still like Mike Trout or Mookie Betts, especially with those guys like leading the charge to get everyone to play before. But I think Aaron Judge is still a good choice for sure.
I would have gone with Ohtani, I think, though. Wasn't he?
I don't think he can play for the U.S. Speaking of Dan, though, I miss the rubric. I want it back. I hope now that he's moved and he's got his studio all set up, I hope he's working on it. I want the rubric back.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
All right, one other note here from around the league. Lots to talk about here. Speaking of Mike Trout, if you haven't seen this play, folks, this is insane. Mike Trout is ranging to his left in right field, and he jumps up and he makes a spectacular catch in the stands. And he's up against the wall, and a fan literally grabs Trout's glove, takes the ball out of Trout's glove. Upon review, they let the call stand as no fan interference. It's a foul ball because Trout didn't come down with the ball, even though he definitely would have had a catch.
Why are we doing this? Like, it happened in the Bronx in the playoffs last year where those two guys like tried to rip Mookie Betts' hand off. Like, I mean, it was just absolutely obnoxious. I don't understand that. I do disagree with your foul ball take about how, like, if it's coming, no matter what the team is, you're allowed them to try to get the ball. I think if the ball is going into the stands, you try as hard as you can to catch that. If the opposing team is out in the field. If you're the home team, if the home team's going in there, then move back. But if it's in the fans, don't reach over. I hate that when fans reach over. But if it's in the fans, you can try and catch it. Plus, you have to protect yourself, so you're trying to catch that ball. I do not get the ripping it out of the glove thing. And for them to, like, even the guy was like, sorry, right away. I don't even understand how that's a reaction in the moment. What are you doing? If it's another fan and it's in their glove, you shouldn't be ripping it out then. See, that's a horrible argument. Like, it makes no sense. To this guy's credit, he clearly apologized right away and felt bad about it, but it looked so vicious. The replay is not great.
No, well, and it's kind of cool. Trout met with him and his kid after the game and signed a ball for his kid, which stand-up move from Mike Trout. And I do wonder if it's just because Trout was obviously visibly very upset when it happened, which clearly he should be. And I guess
the dude knew it right away too. Like he like instantly was like, I'm sorry. I mean, you could see like his hand motions and everything.
This is where I struggle a little bit, because from a sportsmanship perspective, do you really want situations where the fans are helping to determine the outcome that's not via cheering? Because that's what you're saying when you're saying fans should have every right to the ball and shouldn't make an effort to get out of the way.
I'm not saying defend your turf or anything, but if the ball's coming up to me and I'm looking up and holding holding up my arms, I'm not going to think like, oh, I need to get out of the way so this ball can bounce. I'm going to try to catch it. I'm not reaching over the stands or anything. I'm not pulling like a Bartman from the Cubs or anything like that. Yeah. But I think we're mostly in agreement on here, but I'm not going to like run out of the way if that ball's coming in.
Sorry, and just to be clear, you should make every reasonable effort to get out of the way. Not if you could catch the ball. It's a bit of a judgment call, but it's sort of one of those things where you know if you've done something wrong, just like this guy knew if he did something wrong. Whether home team or away team, I do think the sportsman thing to do, if the player has a reasonable chance at the ball, you should make an opportunity for them to make a play on the ball.
What this guy did was egregious. I can't stand what this guy did.
Anyway, last note here, this is kind of fun. Bryce Harper is having a kid. I don't know if it's his first or not, but he did a gender reveal by using a blue bat, which is just a really cool way to announce the gender of your baby.
I love Bryce Harper. I know you get sick of some of his antics. I absolutely love the guy.
Some of his antics. Okay, well, let's go ahead and make our picks for the upcoming Braves series, Hogs.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's Picks.
The listeners are going to take Brooks Lee off the board. That then comes to me. I'm going to go with Buxton. Then Dan picks next. He's taking Julian. And then it falls to you, Hogs.
I am going to take, which I think is the most ridiculous comparison I've ever heard in my life, your Jim Thome lookalike, which, I mean, have you seen the two of them? They look nothing alike, but I'm taking Harrison Bader.
No, it's did you even listen? It's like the body size. Dan's explanation was great. It's like when you have a picture in Word and you like grab the corner and you just shrink it a little bit. That's
like you could do that to anyone and you're going to get the same comparison.
The frame. No, they do look. I don't care what you're saying. You're so wrong about
one
this.
Guy's like 5'8", 200 pounds. The other guy's like 6 foot.
I literally just explained it to you why this makes sense. I just explained it to you.
Okay. You stretch me out and shrink me down a little bit. I look like Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay, that's good. No, your build is not the same. That's
I don't know, David.
Ridiculous. Oh my god, yeah, you and Shaq. My goodness, one and the same. Hogs on an NBA court. Are you kidding me?
Deadly. Hey, David, I've schooled you before. It hasn't been that long.
Okay, first of all, back that truck up here. I think somebody's
back
playing
in the
with
Midas
memories.
family driveway. There was something.
Doing it. The only time I've ever been punched with full strength from a human is when Hogs punched me on a basketball court.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Anyway, folks, with that, thanks so much for tuning in. Dan and I will be back together on Sunday. Hogs, thanks so much for filling in. A quick plea. We have this new agreement with Pull Tab Sports. It's great. We love it. We're getting a little bit more visibility, which is fantastic. If you have not rated our show on whatever podcast platform you listen to, it would do wonders if you could give us 5 stars there. If you could like videos when you see them populate. I'm trying to figure out this whole algorithm thing, Hogs. I don't understand why some of our videos get a ton of views and some of them don't. But folks, if you guys could give us that thumbs up, if you can make sure you subscribe and you could rate us if you haven't, it would mean a lot to us as a show. It'd be great to have the show continually grow and see how the season ends with the most listeners we've ever had.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform so that you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or a like, we would greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon, link in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, 2 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.